everybody. And I see we have somebody from Maryland. Anna, you are my neighbor. I'm coming in from Northern Virginia. So welcome in, and I am excited to be here with everyone. Today's workshop, we are going to be talking about the Glowforge. So if you have one, if you're thinking about getting one, we're going to cover lots of different information about how to use your Glowforge and what you need. So I do have a presentation to kind of go through some very specific things. So why don't we just jump into that, and then we'll come back out and do upfront and personal with like things, you know, on the fly type of things. Let me share my screen here. Get that going. Oops, I want to presenter view. There we go. Now hopefully I can still get to my screen and share with everybody. Okay, let me just share first, and then I'll go into presenter view. Sorry. Sometimes, you know, you just think something's going to go one way and it just needs to go a different way. So let me just share my screen here. That one, share that, and we'll do presenter view here. Okay, so here we go. Today's workshop is the laser cutter, the Glowforge Aura. And our main project is going to be an acrylic bookmark, but I'm going to share some more DIY ideas for you, especially about things that you can use to stuff your Easter baskets. We'll be working with the Glowforge Aura, and I do have the Glowforge filter. The Aura definitely needs any type of laser cutter. You want to have a filter system, because it's using your laser and it's cutting and it's creating smoke and everything like that. So you do want to have a filter. You can also vent your Aura out a window or through the filter. So the filter runs a little noisy. So for the workshop, I have it set up to vent out the window, but I also use the filter because that really came in handy during the winter colder months. Now, with your purchase of your Glowforge Aura, there is an entire catalog of images and designs and projects that you can tap into to get started and create really fun and unique items with your Glowforge. So you do not have to have, the designs in the catalog are free with a premium account, or you can purchase the images as you go along, depending on what you want to work with. You can do like one-offs and purchase as you go along. So you don't have to have the premium account to use the software or to cut with your Glowforge Aura. Just want to let everybody know about that. Now, we do have Prrofgrade materials, and these are materials that are especially formulated for the Glowforge printer. It's called a printer. The Glowforge calls it a printer. I call it a laser cutter, but you'll see that term print often used. So they do have Prrofgrade material that is designed to work in the Glowforge Aura. Just point out two limitations. You cannot cut clear acrylic, but you can engrave on clear acrylic, and you also can't cut on white acrylic. And the reason for that is the Glowforge Aura is designed as a laser cutter for the craft room. It's not an industrial strength cutter, so it won't cut everything that you see on the market. So just know that there are limitations. You have to have an opaque core to your acrylic for it to cut. So you can use, there are certain ones that are like black with a pink top that you can cut, certain types of acrylic like that. I go on a couple different Facebook groups to see what other people are using outside of the Prrofgrade materials. But for this workshop, we'll be using some of the Prrofgrade materials to make the bookmarks and other acrylic items. And then you have different materials that you can use. So you have wood materials that you can use. You have cardboard that you can use, chipboard that you can use, all kinds of different things. If you're making something like this little game, this requires a 1/8 inch thickness wood project, and then you can paint it with acrylic or paint pens. You can add a clear top coat if you want to, and then you would assemble it with wood glue. I'm also going to share a little trick on how to assemble your wood projects. You can use your Glowforge Aura to create your home decor projects, and you can decor your wood with, decoupage your wood with scrapbook papers and put that behind the cutouts of the designs. You can also mix your media, so you could use wood and acrylic in the same project. And you can always add on names for customization. If you do something like this little project I have on the screen, the little bunnies, keep in mind, it will recommend a thickness of wood to cut with. If you change your thickness of wood, that will change the slot in the wood. And I have some of those cut so I can show you how to do that. But so this is an example of some of the fillers that you can create with your Glowforge Aura to tuck into those baskets this spring. This is a catalog design, and it's a bookmark design, and there's probably about 15 different bookmarks that you can do and clips, and you can change it up and use scrapbook paper to embellish it, paint, even napkins. Like you can decoupage with decorative napkins, all that kind of fun stuff. It works about 1/8 inch material thickness, and the project also includes the back file so that you can engrave and cut and then tuck the bookmark on that project. So to make a bookmark, you're going to need some acrylic. So we'll use the Prrofgrade medium acrylic. You could also use the Eco Thin. You'll want to have some cardstock to make the little card that your bookmark will go onto. And then you'll also have the bookmark design in the catalog. If you'd like to make this out of wood, you'll want to use 1/8 inch Prrofgrade wood, your decorative paper, your Mod Podge, and the bookmark design from the catalog. Also cardstock, so you can cut out the tag. So either material that you want to work with, you can certainly work with. And then we just want to point out we have some more classes this month that I'm teaching, and I'm just going to leave those there for you guys if anybody's interested in learning about additional classes we have. So let me stop sharing here. Let's see, how do I do this? So oh, here we go. Okay, stop share. 1, 2. It's not letting me. Oh, there we go. All right, it was not letting me stop that share. So we'll share that list, the presentation for you. So if you want to go back and get any of that information, you can certainly do that. I do have one project I was working on my desk. So I'm going to set this one aside. I was making a little tic-tac-toe project to show you guys as I got my Glowforge Aura set up. So when you have your Glowforge Aura, one of the key parts that I've learned in using it is you have to keep your machine nice and clean. So after, I usually clean it, if I'm doing wood, I clean it after every wood cut. And if I'm doing acrylic, it might be like 2 or 3 cuts. And that's because your wood burns so much and it releases so much smoke and debris. And it's really not a lot, but for your little machine, it is a lot. So what I want to do first is go over how to make the maintenance of your machine, because the maintenance of your machine will help you make better cuts. I have this little eye white clean thing that you use for your glasses. So the first thing I do is, and I don't do this every time, but about, depending on how often you're cutting with it, I'd say like if you cut once a day for a week, once a week you want to use your eye cleaner and a wipe and just clean the lens off of the top of the machine here. And the reason you want to do that is this is the lens that shows what you see on the grate. So this little lens here, you want to make sure that you keep it nice and clean. Any smoke or debris that gets in there, you just want to clean that off. So I just use my little lens wipe and I clean that off, and I just have those, I keep those in my craft space. Now your grate, this can pop out. Let's see if we can do this from the back side. So your grate can pop out, and you can clean this, keep this clean one of two ways. You can either use little Lysol wipes like these, and I use these a lot, or I have alcohol. If it's a really something stubborn, I have alcohol, and I use lint-free cloths with that. So I have just a little lint-free cloth that I use to wipe that up. But basically, you'll have like some burn debris on your grate here that you just want to clean off. So just take your little Lysol wipe, and you're going to go ahead and wipe that down and clean any of that off. You also can do this on both sides. And I really do, if I'm cutting wood, I will cut this every time, because you'll have like char marks on the grid, and they may not all come off each time. So sometimes I have to wipe over something 2 or 3 times to get it to come off, but usually over time it comes off, and you can see how dirty this is. So you just wipe that down, give it a good clean all the way around, and then you can, I then take my alcohol and my lint-free brush, my lint-free little towelette, and I spritz the alcohol on my little towelette, and I wipe down inside. So I wipe down the inside tray here, and then you want to wipe down the rails, and see, it's like dirty, really gets dirty in there. And every once in a while, not every time, but there are little rings on the side of the laser head. So you want to slide that to the side, get in there and get all the sides of the rail cleaned off, top and bottom. So you want to make sure you're kind of getting underneath that, and you just clean that off, and then also clean around those rings, because you want the head to smoothly travel on the rack. And so you clean that off, and then if it gets really dusty, you can take your laser head off, and with alcohol and Q-tip, clean inside where the fan is. So you don't need to be too aggressive, but you just want to make sure you keep it as clean as possible. And that just snaps back on with magnets. Now, if you get a lot of debris in the tray, like you're cutting paper or something like that, you may have little pieces that fall through the grate. And then I usually will take my vacuum and just kind of vacuum that out, or just clean it out with my wipe. And then your tray fits right back in there, and you're all ready to go and start cutting. So what we're going to cut today, the first thing we're going to cut are some bookmarks. And I've got a few different samples here to get us started. So the acrylic that I use is the medium acrylic, and it comes in this size. And you'll notice that on the Glowforge Prrofgrade material, it has the QR code on it. And what that does is, as you put this into the machine, it will recognize the material and give you the material settings. So I'm going to make our first bookmark, and I already cut this out to show you guys the finished project, but I didn't take the masking off. So we're just going to kind of take that masking right off there. And I have this adorable little acrylic bookmark that I can now put on a little card and give to somebody, and that little bookmark can go in your book. And it can also hold your things together, anything like that. That goes right in there. So let's go ahead and get this kind. Now this will it takes about 18 minutes to cut the design. So we're going to give it time to do that. Now you want to make sure that your material is in the bed flat. So we're going to put that on there. If my material is not flat, like if it warps or anything like that, you'd be able to feel it and push it, and it would kind of like bounce around. So there's a pattern to cut these little T-shaped things that fit into the grate. Get that in there. It fits into the hole of the grate, and you put it on the corners, or where you're not going to cut, of your material, and that will hold your material down. You don't always have to do this. Like for the Prrofgrade acrylic, I haven't found that I need to do that. So you have that as an option. Once you have your material in your bed, then you're going to go ahead and close it, and let's go over to the software, and we will, I'll show you what we're going to design. And Nicole, at any time, please do pop in if you have if there's a question that I don't see.
I've got a few, Kesley, if you'd like me to go
Okay.
ahead and ask
Yeah.
those. Okay, so A Rhodes has asked 3 questions actually. Uh, I'll start with the materials and go backwards. How thick is the acrylic? Is this material only for the aura that we see at Michael's? And can you use the files to sell the product that you make, or do you need to have the premium in order to have those benefits? And I assume you'll probably touch on that last one later, but she was curious about the materials.
Yes, so the materials I'm using, and I just want to make sure I find there we go. The materials I'm using are the medium weight Prrofgrade material, which is 1/8 of an inch thick. There is Eco Thin, which is more of a 1/16 of an inch thick. So I'm just using the medium acrylic. And what I'm sorry, I should have answered them as we went along. Let's look at one of the images. So I'm going to do create, and it'll pull up my design. So like things that I've designed before will kind of pull up. All right, let's see. All right, so as this pulls up, you can see there are images that are recommended for me, and then images that I've already cut. So if I go to, let's do this little paper clip file, do something other than the star. You'll see here that you have the paper clip design and then the paper design. And this is free with premium, or you could purchase it as you go along. Now, I think if you go to on a design and you say like more details, let me just see if this does it. I think if you go to more details, it will tell you the license that each of the designs has. So I'll look at that, but I think that it will tell you in the license if you can use it for just personal use or if you can use it for other things. So this is this is another little project. I'm going to show you guys this one. Let me find my little paper clip. I don't see him. Reset the design. There's the paper clip right there. So I can just bring that paper clip onto my mat. If I want to change the size of it, I could make it a little smaller, make it a little bit bigger. Let's go a little bit smaller. I'm just going to make it like 1 inch. So we'll make it just a little bit smaller. So I'll just change that to 1 inch. And it proportionately modifies the size of that. So it modifies both the height and the width on that. So it's right there. The QR code already picks up my material. It's the medium yellow acrylic. I'm cutting part 2 of a 2-part project. And I noticed my acrylic is in there crooked. I'm not going to change it because it looks like it's going to cut just fine. So we're going to go ahead and say print over there on the right side. That you'll see the camera. I'm going to stop share that so you guys can see the camera. The lens head will start moving and it will calibrate the material. So like you can choose how you want it to cut. It'll calibrate the material and it'll move a little bit, move around. Let's see. If I go to my overhead camera, maybe it'll see it moving a little bit. Let's go here. Why did it? Okay. And then I go back to my website. So now it's verifying the alignment of my machine. Okay, and it's just pausing for a second. It's calibrating. So that'll just take a second as it calibrates the machine. I know it doesn't look like it's doing anything, but it's working in there. And now it's verifying the alignment. So making sure that the alignment is properly set up. And again, it doesn't look like it's doing anything, but it is. All right, let's come back over here and I'll double check those questions. So I think there were 3 questions. I only got 2. So you need to make sure Michael's, I think, carries both material for the Glowforge Pro and the Glowforge Aura. The material list in the Glowforge Aura, it pulls up when you open up a project, and I can show you how to find out all the different materials. So it will pull those up, and then you can see all the different materials that you can use in that machine. Okay, so it's still calibrating, and I'll share my screen so you guys can see what I'm looking at here. There you go. So you can see the little bar on the right side. It's calibrating, it's thinking. So it just takes this could take a couple minutes. The calibration could take a couple minutes when it does that. If for some reason it seems to be taking like a really long time, I would close the window and start again. Now my head just moved, so now it's saying verifying alignment. It's still doing the calibration. So we're just going to give it a second to keep thinking and working its way through. It's hard to be patient, but we must. If you have questions, it's a good time while we're waiting for that to come through. And I want to make sure like I can kind of see my clip moved a little bit. So I'm going to move that down, which then I'm going to cancel that print because I moved the image. It was kind of stuck up. So sorry, I got to cancel that, but it should take less time to now recalibrate that. So let's do that again. It's preparing my print. It's verifying. This should go faster than I've done it once.
Kesley A. Rhodes has another question.
Yes.
Does the program show you the settings on the screen?
So what your cut settings are, so each item will tell you you can either engrave it, cut it, score, or just ignore it. If you want to see what your cut settings are, you just would go click that over button, and this yellow acrylic is going to cut with a speed of 7, a power of 10, and it's going to make 3 passes. Now, if you test this material and it doesn't do what you think it should do, you can always adjust and tweak these measurements. So when I do, and it's ready to go, so I'm going to go ahead and hit, let's see, let me stop share here so you guys can see to get it started. All I just need to do, my light is flashing. We can get that over there so you can see. Now it will make a little bit of noise as it goes, but see that light's flashing, and then we just hit the start button, and it will start, the laser will start cutting for us. So that's a good thing. If you want to see like how your progress is going and everything like that, you can watch it, and it will tell you how it's going. So you see on the side there, it's counting down for me, like how long it's taking and everything like that. You don't actually see the cut happening. You have to visually look at it with your eye to see that. But you can see like about how long it's going to take to cut. So you get to see that. And then if we go over here, you'll see, you can see that little flashing going. Well, it's cutting it really thick. It's cutting it too thick. So something's off with my settings. It's cutting, I can see how thick that line is, and it's just really melting that plastic. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll come into the software, and I'm going to stop it now because it's just cutting too thick. So let me share my screen again. And that sometimes that happens. Like I may have tweaked something on the laser or something. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that print. Okay, and you'll see it like resets itself. Let me show you what happened. I have to wait for it to turn down. Not sure why, but sometimes this happens. It's really thick cut, and that is not the way it's supposed to do. So let's just, let me just show you. See how thick that is? The line should be very thin, and it'll make those 3 passes and go through. So that something happened there, and not sure what, but that is not how you want to cut. So a couple things I'm going to check. One is if my laser head if this little silver thing is stuck, that can cause a problem. So we're gonna check that. I'm just gonna make sure this is cleaned up. You don't want to blow into this. I can use my little lint brush if I have it still, and you can just kind of clean the head there. I don't think that's the problem, but that could be the problem. So we're just gonna put that back on. And we've got our laser head. Okay, so let's go ahead. I wonder if the reason it took so long to calibrate may have done it, or something like that. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna go back in and share my screen. So two of the things that happen on your machine is, one is you get those really thick burn lines, or it doesn't cut at all. And then the second one is your cuts get off center. So it'll cut 3 different times, but it really makes it cuts it weird. So we're gonna, it's gonna refresh my bed image. So it's automatically scanning. And I'm gonna grab my little clip here. I'm gonna move this over. Now, it also could have been changing the size of it, maybe could have been a problem for me. And I can just reset the image. Bring that back here. Let's do, I'm gonna like delete this one, and we're gonna come back up and put the image back onto the acrylic. And this time I won't change the size of it. Oh, it did. Let's reset the design there. Now, changing the size of it, I change the size of images all the time. And it doesn't usually affect the quality of the cut, but go figure, maybe that's what's doing it. The medium yellow acrylic, and it's gonna cut. So that's what I want it to do. So let me go ahead and hit print again. It's gonna prepare that print again. So it's kind of good. I mean, I know you want it to work perfectly, but it's kind of good that it doesn't, because then you get to learn, okay, this happens. There's a learning curve. It's a machine working with material. So there's a little bit of a learning curve to it. I don't know, sometimes you don't know, there's no like, if you change a couple different things, you don't know what exactly caused the problem or how you fixed it, but let's hope that that happened and I fixed it. So you don't need the pins on the acrylic. This time I won't have the pins on there. And you'll see that because the acrylic is flat, it's not going to move on me. So I don't have to have the pins on the acrylic. I just kind of put that in there so you could see how it would work. Let's see. So it's just calibrating and verifying that. I thought I had a couple other paper little holders. So these are some of the other clips. I'm just waiting for that to process through. These are some of the other clips I've made using the shapes within the software. So you can change your size. See, I've got like a little one and a big one. When you add cardstock, so I put cardstock on my paper. This was actually cut. I think if I go to my overhead, maybe I can show it better. Okay, so now it's saying it's ready to print, and we'll do it again. I'm just going to push that. And these two cuts were made. This one on my left, obviously they're a different size, but it was cut out of the same wood. And I'm hoping you can see this one here is, I didn't do any of the cardstock with it or decoupage. This one I decoupaged on both sides of it. And look how much thicker this one ended up than this one. And it was out of the same piece of material. So, okay, now you can see my cut. Let's see, you can't quite see it yet. It's working its way through. As soon as you can see, I can see that it's cutting the right thin line there. So we're gonna go ahead and let that cut through. But you can see I've got some different paper clip sizes. This is one I did some scrapbook paper on and then painted the back side of it. This one here, I cut it and then glued it to the cardstock. And I thought I would try that out as a secondary after the cut. And it was just, it was really challenging to, I found to, like I was thinking just use my X-Acto knife and cut away the paper, but it was a little bit more challenging than I would have
wanted to do, especially if I had to bang out a bunch of these. So definitely adding and decoupaging the wood is the way to go. I'm gonna let that keep cutting. And we'll talk about how to decoupage on your material. And I'll just do that right here on the overhead. We'll have this as our backdrop so we can keep our eye on it. So I used just these little pieces of wood. They're 1/16 inch. If you need to use material that you don't know the width of, there's a tool, and I don't see it on my desk, but I know it's here, called a caliper. And the caliper will measure the thickness of your material. So if you're using unknown material, that caliper is super important. And mine is just a digital caliper, and oh, I see it across the room. And it'll just measure the thickness of my wood. Now, if you're going to do the decoupage, so I cut out my scrap of paper the same size as my wood. So that would fit right onto there. Then I just did the, I put decoupage on the wood and added the scrap of paper on top of that and glued that together. Now, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this is curved, so it's warped a bit. And this is where you'll need those pins or some type of heavy, thick magnets to put down and hold your paper, your cutting material flat. The thinner the wood, the more likely when you decoupage, it will be to blend over. So I did those 3 layers and I let that dry. I have it here. So when we go back to the front camera, if you want to see exactly how to put your Mod Podge on and decoupage the scrap of paper, I can do that. Once the paper dried onto the wood, I then went over it again with another layer of the Mod Podge and gave it like a shiny, I used the glossy Mod Podge, and that gave it like a shiny finish on my wood. With it finished with the wood, you can then use masking tape. And so I just have this big roll of masking tape, and you can mask the wood and it'll cut right through the wood for you. Now, when you have added scrap of paper and layers of Mod Podge, the thickness of your material has definitely changed. So let me get my caliper and I'll show you what I mean by that. I left it across the room. Okay, so this is if this is a caliper here, and it's got like this little mouth that opens and closes so you can measure your wood and thickness, and you can do it in millimeters or inches. So just the wood itself, if I put that in and close that up, the wood is 0.05 inches. The wood with just 1 layer of Mod Podge and the cardstock then is 0.06. So you see it jumped up a point from the wood without the Mod Podge versus the wood with. And then the last one here with 2 layers of Mod Podge and the paper, it stayed at 0.06. So if you're using the unknown material, you want to measure each of your materials. And what I like to do is I'll kind of go around and make sure that my measurement is the same all the way around. Without a doubt, though, these definitely did curve. So you can see them, that they are curved. And you can see the difference. And this one has that last layer of Mod Podge on it. It gives it really shiny finish. This one does not. So kind of you can choose what you want to do with that. And it's really cutting out nicely for that. So we're seeing that go through. Now, another thing you can do is do your cardstock on your wood with your Mod Podge and then just paint the back and add another layer of Mod Podge. This one I painted afterwards, and I'm really not happy with it. I tore my paper in pulling it up and everything. But what I did do, I used my cutout as a template, and I just placed that right back in there, and then you paint over it. So it'll give you a nice finish on the back. But I I kind of got a little overzealous with my Mod Podge and ended up tearing that one. So I thought, oh, I'll try it with the paint on the back first and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so let's pop over before we go too far away from our paper clip here that's cutting out, and I'll see if there's any other questions that have come up. So if you decoupage both sides of the wood, does it flatten it out? It doesn't really flatten it out. I did decoupage this little guy here on both sides. But it didn't really, I mean, I still use the magnets and the pins because you want to make sure it's flat, because what happens if it's not flat, your laser will take one point of your wood. So if you have this laying in your bed like this, and this side is warped up, the laser will calibrate how deeply to cut based on this side or this side. So if this side is warped up, when the laser comes along, it's thinking it's cutting the same as the middle part, the same thickness as the middle part, but really it needs to go up higher and it just doesn't recalibrate as it goes through. So you have to make sure that that wood is flat down. And I mean, thin wood, thick wood, all like quarter inch wood will still warp. So you still want to use, I use these like really heavy earth magnets and hold my wood down that way. So the pins are, that's a good question. How do I create my pins? The pins are a file in the Glowforge software. So you can just do the pins from there. I think this particular pen I got from a pattern from my Facebook group. But they do have them in the Glowforge software, so you can use that. And you can also do them out of wood. The wood ones are nice because I think the acrylic ones, you like really have to get it in the little honeycombs just the right way. So I do like, I kind of like the wood ones when I see people use those. I'm like, I gotta try that next. That's really cool. Okay, so while that's cutting, we're almost done with that cutting. Let me just check our time here. Oh, we've got 10 more minutes. All right, so we're just gonna let that one keep cutting. Feel free to ask questions about the acrylic, because the other little project, and what I want to show you, if you're doing multiple layers of acrylic. So I cut a design, this little green shape here out of the green medium acrylic and this M out of the yellow medium acrylic. What I did differently though, you'll notice my yellow acrylic has a different backing on it, because when I have this project done, the yellow acrylic is going to sit on top of the green acrylic. Now you can use like the 3600 wood, or because it's acrylic, I wouldn't use a wood glue, but you can use like I think it's E6000 glue. You can use that to glue your pieces together. But on this one, let's take our little, I'm going to take my backing off, my masking. So your acrylic from Glowforge already has the masking on it, and you leave that on when you cut. So you always leave your masking on. You don't always have to mask your material, but you do, if you're using acrylic, you will want to have the mask on. So we're just going to have that masking on. And that just is, so I guess it gives you a cleaner cut when you do it that way. So I just am taking that masking off. And what this is, I don't know if you guys already know, it's a little Stanley. So trendy right now, right? The little straw topper. Now my yellow has the masking on the top as well. But what I did on the back, just to make it easier for myself so that I don't have to glue it down and use liquid glue, is I put this 3M adhesive roll on the back side of the yellow acrylic. And what that does is that already has the adhesive on it. So you don't have to use a liquid adhesive. If you're doing glue, you don't have to use a wood glue or anything like that. I just can pull my masking off the back. And then I want to make sure that that adhesive piece is really stuck down there, because when I peel that top off, I don't want the adhesive to come off. It's going to peel that, push that down like that. Then I'm just gonna remove that little back, and just like the masking, I just peel that brown off. Oh, I was hoping it would come off in one piece. There you go. I love that you guys are asking questions. They're really good questions. Now, for this design here, I did purchase the design from another website, and then I uploaded the design into my Glowforge account. So I've got my green acrylic, I've got my yellow, and I'll go to my overhead again. So you guys can see, I want to be able to line this up and not have to hold it up for you. So got that there, and I'm just going to take the M and line that up onto the acrylic. It's already got the adhesive on there. So once I put that down, I know it's going to stick. I don't have any wiggle room. If you're using a liquid adhesive, you do have like that little bit of wiggle room. But when you use this 3M roll of adhesive, so this is just 3M 468 MP. I got that from Amazon. When you use that, like it sticks. It's not going anywhere. That is stuck down. So this could be a cute little add-on to a basket, a little name tag on a basket or anything like that. And then it's your little, it goes in the top of your Stanley Cup, which is just so trendy right now. So you have that design there. So that was like one of those extra ideas, the little add-on of your design there. And you can just do a search for, if you look for like lid topper, you'll get lots of different ideas. And just, I always kind of like to cut them out from something and try the size of it and make sure it's going to fit in. So if you wanted to do like a pre-cut, you could cut it out of cardstock or cardboard and sort of pre-cut this design so that you know it's going to fit onto the whatever you're putting it on. If there's toppers for 20 and 30 ounces and toppers for 40 ounces. So that's kind of something you want to be careful of. And then you can always make your own design if you wanted to. You could design your own in the Glowforge software or design it in a different software and import it in. But that's how you get that cute little design there to go right on your stand. Again, I use the Glowforge medium green acrylic and the yellow acrylic, and then I added that extra piece of the adhesive onto the back of the yellow. And I didn't do it all the way, just because I don't know what else I'm going to use this yellow acrylic for. So I didn't need to go all the way across. I could have even done a smaller piece there. Not sure how it would cut though. So there's that. So that's a great little add-on piece you can do for your Thanksgiving. I mean, Thanksgiving, we're Easter now. Some other fun things are to take a name and you can just write the name in the software and add an outline to it and a little circle hole, and then that becomes you can use it as a keychain or a little ribbon tag or anything like that onto a basket. And that was acrylic. You can make those same types of keychains using this is 1/8 inch the wood, cherry wood with the veneer on top. The veneer wood is a really thin wood. So that and that has the adhesive on the back of it. That's what gave me the idea to use the adhesive on the see, this has a whole sheet of the adhesive on the back of it. So this is a really great piece to have because it has the adhesive on the back of it. Now you may be asking, Kathleen, how did you use that big sheet in your Glowforge Aura? Because your bed is only 12 inches. On the side of the Glowforge are little doors, and these are called pass-through doors. So you can use the Prrofgrade material that is 12 by 20, open up your pass-through door and slide this in, and then do your cut through there. And you would just leave your doors open as you're making those cuts. So that's something, you know, don't overlook those longer pieces of material. All right, so those are the keychains are really fun, and you can always mix them up too and do acrylic with wood. So like with this wood, I did the scoring of the name. Actually, not scoring, I engraved the name on the wood and then added a little acrylic on that. I could have created a cut box. So someone saying you could have created a cut box to pre-cut the yellow piece square prior to applying the adhesive. Yes, you could always cut your pieces smaller. I like to, the reason I wouldn't do that is I may later come back in and need to use like this little space for a star for something. So I can always go back in and use all these little spaces. Plus it takes like 10 with your Glowforge Aura. That might take like 8 to 10 minutes. So you may not have the time to have it cut out. Now, if you're doing a whole bunch of these, then of course you could just do that at one time instead of just your little one-off like I did. So it's, that is a good suggestion to do the pre-cut if you have time. And then, mixing up your mediums with your wood and your acrylic and stuff like that. Always a fun idea. Now, speaking of using other materials, another fun little project I have queued up, and I'm hoping we get a chance to show this one in our workshop today when our little paper clip finishes. But these little cards, let's see which one I use. I'm gonna go back over to my overhead so you can see these a little closer up. These little cards here, let's bring it focus for you. The focus is always a challenge, right? So this is chipboard that I used, and it's like 1/8 inch chipboard, and I've got smudge on my fingers. So the chipboard is, you can use this in your aura. And what you're doing is you're creating like a little postcard that you can then pop out these pieces. So they have little teeny tiny, like snack size little pieces on there. I'm just going to pop this out. Once all these are popped out and your hands are clean, my hands are a mess. You can use just baby wipes at this point instead of the Lysol wipes. So I'll just use my baby wipes. If you want to keep your hands clean while you're doing this, just run your baby wipe around the edges of it. That'll keep it clean too. So you can just take off that scorch mark there. But basically, you're gonna pop out all these little pieces so they all hold together, and then you just pop them out. And in the gift basket, you can put, pop out his little paw. And I love how it gives you the directions on how to assemble everything back together. But we're going to pop these out. And I did use the chipboard. So it's like a natural color chipboard. You could pre-paint it white if you wanted to. And then you have your little chippy pieces on top of it. But basically, I have my background piece. And if you get any charcoal on there, the scorch marks on there, it will come off with your wipe. And then you just start layering the pieces on top. So you're making this three-dimensional shape here. Top. Where's his little face? There's the face. And then you can just use, since this is like a chipboard, you could just use Elmer's glue or something like that and glue that back together. If you're gifting this, I always think it's cute to gift everything that somebody's going to need to make it together. So if you're doing this with kids, you could have your little cutout design and then a little packet of paint and either Q-tips or a paintbrush that they could build this together with. And then you could put it in like a little clear plastic bag or something like that and have them cut that out. So the chipboard is super fun to do it with. I got my chipboard. It's the Cricut heavy chipboard. So you could do a thinner chipboard or a heavier chipboard if you wanted to do something like that. And if we have time, I would love to show you how I did that.
right now, our paper clip has finished. Ta-da! So when you lift up your acrylic, that paper clip should just pop right off. I'm just going to pull that right out. Just snap that there. So if I wanted to keep that other side, I wouldn't have snapped that off, but I don't want to keep that other side. And you can see on the back there, it kind of charred the back of it. That's okay. That's what the masking is for. So when you use your masking over your material, it keeps your material clean, as long as your hands are clean. So we just peel that masking, comes right off. Now, if I got a little charcoal, the acrylic doesn't do that charring, like the chipboard or the wood will do. Hands clean here. So with your acrylic, you don't really have to worry about that kind of happening. And then you just come to the other side and we just pull this right off. And there you go. So there's so many fun ways that you can use the different projects in the Glowforge software, from using it with acrylic or wood or chip. You can even make this out of chipboard if you wanted to. This is also a great teacher's gift. You could take some acrylic and add a name to it. If you wanted to, you could add the name before cutting it out. But how fun is that? Like, nice big clip. You can use it as a bookmark, as a chip clip, all kinds of fun things. All right, so the last. So that's a great question. Who's asking that question? Since this is a small machine, does it overheat, and do you need to let it rest? So I have seen other people mention that, like, when they're printing, the machine will actually pause on them. If it overheats, there's, I guess, a sensor inside that the machine knows, hey, you're a little hot, we're going to pause for a minute and let it go. I do tend to, like, wait in between, like, before you open it, you want to let it pause and let the air go out, filter out, and then you can open it and start working with it again. So it doesn't, I have not had that experience with it overheating on me, but I have read other people have that experience. Like, it's just stopped in the middle and they're like, oh my gosh, did I break it? Nope, it's just paused and it's cleaning up. Do I need to mask the chipboard? That is a great question. I did not mask my chipboard. And in fact, I probably would recommend not masking your chipboard, because the chipboard, when you take the mask off, it might peel off the cardboard pieces of it. You can mask this because it has that shellac cover on it, so it won't, like my wood here that I've done the paper, I can put the masking on that and it won't come off. That's going to stay as is, so I don't have to worry about that. And you can even do like 2 colors on one piece of wood if you wanted to. So that's like an easy way to do it. So you do not want to use MDF in your Aura. I think there's somebody asking about MDF. I think there's a chemical in the MDF that's released that you don't want to use. So I think it doesn't recommend MDF or chipboard, or not chipboard, MDF or draft board. But the chipboard is okay from what I've researched. So I'm okay at that. The chipboard was okay. And you can do cardboard too. So I do have some, I do have a cardboard piece. Since you've seen the chipboard, why don't I show you how you can cut cardboard? So we'll put that in. Now, again, the cardboard does, as I put it in, I can kind of feel around that it's going to move on me. So I'm just going to grab my magnet and I'll put that down on the corners. If 2 isn't enough, I can just grab a couple more and put those down. So this was another little basket stuffer idea I had to do for kids to be able to draw and color on. So we'll just put that down. Now, normally I would probably clean this out, clean my rails and everything. So let's hope everything's good on that. I don't have to do that on this one. Let me, so I'm gonna share my screen again and I'll show you a project I was thinking would be fun. And I haven't cut this one yet, so we'll see. But let's see if I go into my projects. And I'm just gonna, oops, am I sharing? Not sharing yet. Sorry about that. Share screen. There we go. Okay, so on this one, if I go into my design catalog here, and let's see, we'll just browse the designs. I think it'll pull it up. Let's do, I can do a search for eggs. There's some cute eggs here that you could cut out of wood. And again, do that as a paint project. But if you didn't want to do that, if you didn't want to do that as a paint project, you could, like, if you don't want to spend the wood, spend the money on wood or anything like that, you could do that with cardboard. And then you could color it with crayons or anything like that. So it comes in and it has all the three different sets come in together. So you see I have all the three different sets. If I wanted to, I could add a name onto it. I'm going to edit in the group. So I'm going to ungroup these layers. And then I'll take this egg here and undo that. Now, it's kind of hard to see, isn't it, with all those pieces there. So let's just grab a light piece of cardstock. And I'll put that in the bed here. Let's just do that. It's gonna scan that for me. And you'll see that in just a second. So now I can kind of see what I'm working with. So this little guy here, I'm gonna take this one out. I'm just gonna take all these pieces and get rid of all these pieces here. I don't want to have to. You usually should be able to grasp everything. Okay, so let's take this one and get all these out. Okay. Let's put that over there. That's the one I want to do. So I'm just going to take all these guys here. We'll delete all those. Delete these here. So if that grid, you're having a hard time seeing what you're trying to cut, you can always just put in a piece of cardstock and then you can see what you're working with. And then when you're ready to see your material size, you can just take that piece out and then it'll re-scan it and then you can do that one again. So I'm just going to take this guy here, put that one right there. And my material, so I click on unknown material and oops, let's see, this one I'm going to cut. And I'm going to use my settings for cardboard. Now I've done cardboard before. So my settings are speed at 100, power of 10, and 3 passes. So I'll cut that cardboard there. And then this one I'm going to engrave on the cardboard there. So that's all set and it's an unknown material. So I'm going to use uncertified material and I'll take a piece of cardboard. Now this is just an Amazon box. So good use of recycling. When I measure it with my caliper, it's at 0.11. So I'll do 0.11 for the width of my material. Submit that in there and hit print. I'm just gonna get that queued up and print. So that, while that's printing, if there are other questions that you have, please drop them in. We're gonna go over a couple minutes so we can just show you this last project. And I think that was everything I had set up. Now, okay, let's see, I think it's ready. This is the cardboard will go quickly. So it's really fun to use. And what I do when I do the cardboard too is I'll use the cardboard as a template. Sometimes, so if I have something I'm gonna cut out or, like I have to paint it, I'll just, 17 minutes. All right, we probably won't get a chance to get this whole thing finished, so I will post a picture of it on my Instagram. It's Kesley.365, so you can see what that looks like. But we'll just go, we'll let that one start. I'll show you the overhead before we close out. So the the other thing I wanted to mention was, if you're looking for something like with a clear acrylic, like if you are a white acrylic, sometimes you can purchase the base of it from, you know, different sellers and things like that, and you can always add on to it. So if you wanted to just do like the lid toppers and cut out some of these names with acrylic, you can just purchase this from a second person and then add the name to it and customize it that way if you wanted to do that. The other thing is, like, I just want to encourage you guys, if you have the Glowforge Aura, to just try things, you know, like just go, I think it could do this, let me try it. And what I like to do is if I'm trying a new material, I will do a test cut, and then once that test cut is done, then I add it, and I'll add that material setting in the Glowforge. So I've done a test cut previously on cardboard, and that's how I have my settings are already set up in the Glowforge, in my Glowforge Aura. And it is, I mean, I use the cardboard to make templates. So if you're looking to make pencils, and you could do that out of wood though, because if you need a lot of pencils. But if you're like, if you want to engrave on the Apple Watch straps, silicone straps, you can make a little template, a jig out of cardboard to do that. One project I haven't tried yet is silicone bracelets and engrave on those. So I want to do that. Let me show you all back here. Let's go back so you can kind of see it in action on the cardboard. Let's see. Oh, it's I should have done it in a different spot than right in the center of it, because you can't really see it very well. Can you? The little head's in the way of it. All right. Well, I guess that's not gonna give us enough time. If there are any last questions, please, I'll give you guys just 1 or 2 more seconds to ask any last questions you may have had that I didn't get to. So the connection to the machine is with Wi-Fi. So I don't have any cords that connected to a computer. In fact, I will often, like, I'll take Glowy outside, and then I named her Glowy. On nice days, even if it's cold, as long as it's not rainy or anything like that, I'll actually take Glowy outside, so I don't have to worry about the filter or venting. And I'll take her outside, and I'll be in my office. So there's like a concrete wall and doors and 2 rooms between where my computer is and where Glowy is. And that Wi-Fi connection, as long as you've got a good strong Wi-Fi connection, you'll be able to cut and send your projects right to Glowy to do that. Part of the reason I do that too is like it's a laser head in there, so you are burning on your material. So there is a caution if you're trying. Like I'm encouraging you to try different materials, and you'll get a caution sign that says, "Hey, this could catch fire." So sometimes if I'm doing something like that, I will put it outside. I have not burned anything yet. I have not had any fire start in my machine. So, so I think I'm doing pretty well, but you know, if that's that initially really scared me. I was like, I'm not going to try anything else. But then I was like, it says it can cut cardboard. I want to try that. So I'll put Glowy outside on those test days when I'm trying something I haven't done before, just in case. That makes me feel better. Gives me a little peace of mind. That's a great question. And then you can always, you can paint if you do it on any kind of cardboard, you can paint on your cardboard and things like that. And then when you're done with it, throw it in the garden and you've got your recycling going. All right, guys. So that was a lot. One last thing I did have on my desk to show you. If you do the home decor projects, it will recommend a width of wood to use. So like this little guy, I think it was like 1/8 inch wood, but I had a scrap of a 1/4 inch wood that I wanted to try.
So, you have to make sure that the slit here that's cut, the width of the slit is the same width as your wood. So again, that's where your little caliper is gonna come in handy. You just wanna measure your wood. And then in the software, you wanna make sure that your slit is the same width as your wood, because then this little guy will fit right in there. And how cute. And so now I can put that at Easter tables. I can put that as part of a vignette or anything, or a little design or anything like that. So that is a fun thing. And I don't think we're gonna get to see this one. But I don't see any more questions. So I think we're good to go, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, name tag for place setting. Isn't that cute? And it's cut like in about 12 minutes. So it does cut slower than I was anticipating it cutting. So, you know, if you can have it running, it's not something I would run and like walk away from, but there are projects that will take hours to cut. So just keep that in mind. But thank you guys so much. If you do make something that we've shown here, please feel free to put that up on Instagram and tag Learn with Michaels. We'd love to see it. Thanks, everyone.